The borough of Queens, a borough comprised of many nationalities, cultures, people, landmarks, and lots of buses.
This stop is Main Street and Northern Boulevard.
About 2.3 million New Yorkers call Queens home. And for many, getting around the borough can be quite a trek without the many bus routes that connects the borough. The borough itself is comprised of 115 bus routes as of 2022 that are part of the local, limited, express, and select bus service networks. For neighborhoods such as Jackson Heights, East Elmhurst, and Corona, the buses become quite a lifeline for these neighborhoods in order to be able to connect with the rest of the borough and for the city itself. Yet, how does the current bus network perform now as it is?
It could be better because the bus lines are so confusing right now. What used to be routed like the Q23 used to come straight on Metropolitan Avenue. Once they hit 71st, now it goes all the way around. So then I have to wait and take another bus to come to my stop, which is on Woodhaven Boulevard. So it's, it's getting rough, very rough now.
So with that, with the bus network, does the neighborhood actually feel connected for you to be able to where you need to get to go? Or...
If I take 2 or 3 buses.
So you always have to consistently transfer?
Oh yes, definitely.
Like nothing is sort of a direct route for you to be able to get where you need to go?
No, there's no direct route. No matter what doctor I go to, I have to take 2 buses at least.
I would say there are certain things that are inefficient, like the Q33 line. When they canceled that going to LaGuardia Airport, they had it terminated right outside the entrance on 94th Street, which didn't make any sense. If I was to take control of the MTA bus operations, I would have just extended the Q33 to where the last stop of the Q23 is. That way East Elmhurst has a full connection without having to walk if they wanted to get through the neighborhood. Maybe you have another friend that lives completely in the opposite direction of East Elmhurst, but it's a really far walk. East Elmhurst is a very big neighborhood. It, borders with Astoria, so it's about I would say 3 miles, 3-4 miles wide. And I feel like East Elmhurst really lacks public transportation. So the 2 problems I have is that Jackson Heights lacks scheduled transportation because there is a lot of buses, but it's not enough. And then as far as East Elmhurst, it lacks transportation.
One of the biggest ones is trying to have passengers wear masks. It's almost impossible to tell them put your mask on constantly because people don't like to wear masks. They'll stand forward of the white line. They'll put their phones in your face. So I'm like, how can I get here? Which, I don't mind helping you, but I can't do that while I'm driving the bus. Traffic issues is the big thing. Especially in the area of Flushing where you have so many pedestrians.
You can now tap and go with Omni to board this bus. No more wondering if you have any money left on your Metro card.
Wow.
Just tap your bank card.
Yeah, so it's pedestrians and a lot of vehicular traffic that you have to deal with. It's always been safety over the scheduling. So if a bus gets there late, the operators being safe about it. No accident, no paperwork. It's a wonderful thing.
Well, as it's keeping the schedule. Sometimes you deal with difficult customers. So,
Like in what sense?
They they say, oh, you've been waiting here a half hour for a bus. There's delays delays in service, and then the bus gets extra crowded, and they really need to get to where they gotta go, or people that don't want to get off the bus sometimes. So like they'll either fall asleep or they just think that the bus is gonna go in the direction where they want to go. So there's a lot of different things that.
So, with all that in mind, what is MTA going to do in order to fix these problems? In late 2019, the MTA, New York City Department of Transportation, and NiceBus embarked upon the Queens Bus Redesign project, a new way to rethink about the 115 bus routes in the borough to better serve Queens bus riders and attract new riders to a new, higher frequency, streamlined bus network in order to meet the demands of today's riders. The initial process of the first redesign was to address the issues most prevalent to riders. These issues including a lack of frequency of routes, overcrowding of buses, lack of access to the subway, and slow service attributed because of bus stops too close, traffic issues, and no bus priority. Yet, with an entire bus network redesign, there is one key issue that really strikes down to people the most when it comes to being able to take the bus. And that right there is accessibility. Accessibility, the word itself, can have a variety of definitions depending on who you ask. According to Webster, accessibility is defined as capable of being reached or being within reached. But what are some other people's definition when it comes to accessibility?
As I was saying, accessibility is something that's like like almost a few minutes walk away. You can easily get to it. Say, for example, the Q66 bus. It is 2 blocks next to the. Actually, no, it's not 2 blocks. It's actually, I think, a block away from where I live. So it's right in front of the Rite Aid. If you're going to Flushing, but if you're going down towards Astoria, is almost 2 blocks down. It's 83rd, almost on the corner of 82nd, where you can take that to Astoria or Steinway. Or if you want another bus route, there's the Q33, which ironically is as close to the Q66. But if you were where I live, you can just walk straight down to 83rd, almost in the corner of 82nd, and take the bus from there.
Accessibility. To the public transportation, I would need as many buses as I can and on time, and able to get on the bus when they lower the front part of the bus so I can get on. And the trains, I need more elevators to go up on the elevated lines. Elevators should be on there, especially the J train and the A train. Okay, accessibility to the supermarkets. I have to take a bus to the nearest supermarket with the Stop and Shop. And as far as my doctors, I have to take bus to all of them. I have to take public transportation. I do not have doctors near me, or at least my doctors. So to doctors, to the dentist, to the foot doctor, medical doctor, hospitals, everything is bus connected. I have to take a bus.
Well, I mean, my terms of accessibility is viewing a neighborhood that have streets that are missing and that have people that are going to work or going someplace. I feel like Ditmars Boulevard it has been ignored a lot all these years, even before the MTA was operating in that area, back when Trevor Coach was there. I feel like East Elmhurst deserves to have more transportation, and if not a lot, at least a little bit more, so that it's not as much of a struggle to walk through the neighborhood.
I think, the voices of people who have mobility impairments should be centered, in defining accessibility, of course. But it does mean many different things. For one, it's its access, both to the pedestrian environment, but also the transit system for people in wheelchairs with strollers, walkers, everything in between, even heavy suitcases. And yeah, that access has to play a major role. It's distinct from walkability because, for example, a staircase is walkable to an abled person, but not to someone in a wheelchair. But also it's ensuring that an option is a viable mode of transportation for as many people as possible. For transit, well, when we look at it, it moves so many more people than private cars, so much more efficiently. But right now, people who are trying to get places fast are often not opting for buses because the buses are so slow. So the people who are essentially stuck on the bus are people who truly don't have other options because of either the accessibility, the affordability, lack of access to a vehicle, the streets not being safe to bike, and that there's a glaring equity concern there, and so we need to speed up the buses.
In a case study looking at an analysis of transit redesign and new bus rapid transit in Columbus, Ohio, states that, quote, accessibility provides opportunities for citizens to participate in vital activities and to reach necessary services. Low levels of accessibility and accessibility inequalities can exacerbate socioeconomic and health disadvantages. From this case study, the conditions of the redesign taking place in Columbus, Ohio for the existing CODA bus system is similar to the conditions in which that MTA is taking with the Queens bus redesign, in the sense that which is going to revamp the existing bus network as it is, while also simplifying complex routes and providing additional frequency and consistency of service, with the intent of providing a simpler and more reliable system with better access to destinations. In Xiang Yang's article, Towards Accessibility-Based Planning, Addressing the Myth of Travel Cost Savings, the criteria he defines as to what is improved accessibility comes at the idea of travel cost savings. What is encapsulated in travel cost savings is one of two things, either being a reduction of commute costs or a reduction in vehicular miles traveled. And this particular ideology actually applies with the Queens bus redesign, as one aspect of the plan is addressing the upcoming congestion price plan that is proposed for the Manhattan CBD, which is of 60th Street and below. In establishing congestion pricing, this redesign of the bus network in Queens also aims to capitalize on that potential passenger growth on routes that head into the Manhattan CBD as a result of shifts in travel patterns. Yet other potential transit planners also have very different but very similar definitions of accessibility, where one definition mentioned in the Yang article is Walter Hansen's definition, quote, the potential for people to interact with spatially distributed opportunities. Yet, in redesigning the network, how will connections and accessibility be retained with the new routes? As part of the redesign plan, the bus network will have 5 designations of routes. Local, to connect local neighborhoods, key transit hubs, and important destinations. Rush, to connect quickly through the outer borough neighborhoods and subway stations, meaning that these routes will pick up locally as branch lines, then once hitting a central trunk section with additional lines, skip as many stops as possible to get to the subway, only stopping at transfer points. limited in order to serve high-demand corridors and to connect quickly across the city. Crosstown/SBS to connect across the city as fast as possible between several important destinations. And Express in order to connect neighborhoods in the outer boroughs to the Manhattan CBD via highways. Additionally, in efforts to speed up bus service, bus stops will be removed from routes in order to increase the spacing between stops. This process has actually already taken effect on one particular route that was under high criticism from the 2019 redesign plan. This route being the Q66, which runs along Northern Boulevard from Flushing Main Street towards Queensboro Plaza. As part of the reduction of bus stops, this was in ties with New York City Department of Transportation's Vision Zero plan for Northern Boulevard between Broadway and 114th Street for street improvement and safety reliability. Part of the redesign of Northern Boulevard, the corridor itself, was to provide additional safety features for pedestrians while also improving traffic flow and bus performance. As part of this project, the Q66, the main route running along this portion of Northern Boulevard, was to have a total of 23 stops being eliminated, where stops retaining major connections to local bus routes were retained. Bus stop spacing was well spaced out even more in order to allow the buses to travel at faster speeds without consistently slowing down. In taking the Q66 route recently, from my observations in riding the bus, depending on the time of day, there is rather a large usage of the route, particularly in the early afternoons by a lot of school students, whether being middle school and high school age, that overcrowd the buses to where there is continuous bus bunching, that 4 or 5 buses will arrive at the exact same time with buses still at maximum capacity. During the midday, however, I did notice that it was more or less senior citizens who were boarding the bus, as well as mothers with children taking them to the doctor's office or towards daycare centers. Yet overall, even with the consolidation of bus service, the bus did not seem as fast. And this is due to, even though bus stops were removed from the Q66 route to improve speeds between bus stops, there was still the issue of high traffic slowing everybody down, as well as a lack of bus priority, that being of infrastructure, including bus lanes or even separate bus signals that will allow buses a head start past a light or hold a light for a bus to pass before changing red. There was a lack of that infrastructure available to really speed up bus service. So with everything in mind, with what is encapsulating this bus network redesign for Queens, what do the people want MTA to do in improving accessibility to their bus network and the areas that they reside in?
Better communication with the clients. That's the most important thing to me. And when it comes to like upcoming service changes, give the riding public enough information so that they don't get surprised the day of. In the case of the Bronx redesign, it's something the 26th of June, but you haven't heard anything about the upcoming changes. Ever since they closed out all the meetings and all this other stuff, you haven't heard anything else from that. So, I just wish they would bring more information out there so that everybody will be well informed come June 26th.
As far as bus lanes go, better enforcement would definitely be key. I see a lot of parked cars in the bus lanes during the times they shouldn't be. It can make getting around those cars difficult if there's heavy traffic on the streets. Bus stops should be a little more evenly spaced, but not so close together, because that does spend a lot of time having to stop at each individual bus stop, especially if they're close together.
I do believe that they need to change the Q47 route because DOT messed up the streets around the East Elmhurst portion. And now the Q47 makes too many turns just to get to Norton Boulevard from Astoria Boulevard. And that costs a lot of time for the Q47. When they turned the two-way street into a one-way, that's when things started becoming a huge mess as far as scheduling. So they need to do something about the Q47 because there is no consistency on keeping a straight route, which would cost a lot of time, especially with the traffic signals and the timing of the traffic signals. And you know, there's also school trippers too, so it's a mess for the Q47, and the Q47 needs to be improved.
I would like to hear more about it, exactly how it's going to affect me personally, because right now I have on Woodhaven Boulevard, I have 4 buses that go down Woodhaven Boulevard. 2 of them stop at the Queens Center Mall and don't continue. The other 2 continue. No, only one continues all the way through, the Q53 Select Bus. The 52, the 11, and the 21 all stop. The last stop is Queens Center Mall, right? The other bus, 54, goes all the way down to Williamsburg. That doesn't affect me that much. But I would like to know more, exactly which, and the Q53, the 23, I would like to know exactly how they're going to change the route on it. Because I know it's going to affect me. I know one way or the other it's going to affect me.